The basement introduction. Every school has its stories. In Crestview High, the students whispered about the basement. No one wanted to go down there. Not because it was dusty or full of old furniture, but because sometimes when the halls were quiet, you could swear you heard scratching on the door, or soft crying, or the faint metallic clang of a chain. Teachers dismissed it. The janitor laughed and said it was just rats. But the students knew better, because every few years, someone went missing and they were last seen in that hallway. Near the basement door. Chapter 1. The dare. It started, like many horrors do, with a dare. One rainy Friday afternoon, after school had let out, 5 seniors stayed behind. Nick, the ringleader, cocky and cruel. Heather, his girlfriend, who laughed too loud. Sam, quiet and nervous. Ryan, the jock who didn't believe in ghosts. And Lily, the shy girl who just wanted to go home. They were sitting in the empty cafeteria when Nick slammed his hand on the table. "Let's settle this," he said, grinning. "Everyone says the basement is haunted. Let's go down there tonight. Whoever stays the longest wins." Lily shook her head. I don't think we should. Don't be a baby," Heather sneered. "Come on, what's the worst that could happen? We find a couple of rats and an old mop." But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The janitor had warned her once when she stayed late after art club never to go near that door. His face had been pale when he said it. Chapter 2. The door. At 7:30 that evening, they slipped back into the school through a side door. The halls were dark and quiet, their footsteps echoing against the linoleum. When they reached the basement door, Nick produced a key he'd stolen from the janitor's office. The lock clicked, and the smell hit them immediately. Damp earth, rotting wood, and something else, something coppery. Ryan laughed nervously. "Smells like an old locker room." But Lily knew better. It smelled like blood. Chapter 3. Down below, the staircase was steep and narrow. Their phone flashlights barely pierced the darkness. The walls were lined with peeling paint, and the air grew colder with every step. To the bottom, the floor was concrete, cracked and dark with stains. Rusted pipes crisscrossed the ceiling like veins. In the corner stood a chair, heavy and wooden, with leather straps bolted to the arms and legs. Dark brown streaks ran down its sides and pooled beneath it. "Holy shit," Ryan muttered. "Is that blood?" Nick grinned. "Probably some dumb prank. Let's split up and see what we find." But Lily refused to move. Something was watching them. She could feel it. Chapter 4. The first scream. They hadn't been down there more than 5 minutes when they heard the sound. A soft scraping, then a shuffle, then a sharp slam. Deeper in the dark, probably just a door, Nick said, though his voice was tight. "Let's check it out." They followed the sound down a long, narrow hallway. The walls here were black, with mildew, and faint streaks of red ran along them, as though something had been dragged. Then came the first scream. It was Sam. He'd wandered ahead, and now he was gone. All that remained was his flashlight, spinning in a puddle of something dark and wet. Heather clutched Nick's arm. Where is he?" But Nick didn't answer. He was staring at the floor, at the footprints leading away from the puddle. Large, bare footprints, but wrong somehow. The toes were too long, the arches too high. Chapter 5. The chains. They ran back toward the stairs, but the door at the top was shut tight. No matter how hard Ryan slammed his shoulder into it, it wouldn't budge. That's when they heard the chains. First a faint rattle, then louder, closer, like someone dragging a massive iron chain across the floor. Heather was sobbing now, and Ryan was pale. "What is that?" he shouted. Nick raised his flashlight and caught a glimpse of movement at the end of the hallway. A tall figure, impossibly thin, its skin gray and stretched over sharp bones. Its eyes were just black pits, and its mouth was wide and wet and full of jagged yellow teeth. It carried a chain in one hand and a hook in the other. When the light hit it, it smiled. Chapter 6. Ryan. They ran. They didn't even look back when they heard Ryan screaming. The sound of the chain whipping through the air. The wet crack when it wrapped around his legs and dragged him back into the dark. The screaming stopped abruptly. Lily tripped and fell. Nick yanked her up roughly. "Move," he hissed. Chapter 7. The chair. They stumbled back to the main room, gasping and wild-eyed. Heather had gone quiet, her eyes fixed on the floor. Nick was muttering to himself, "This isn't real. It's just a sick joke." Then they heard it again, closer now. Chains scraping. A low growl. They turned and the creature was standing in the doorway, filling it entirely. It didn't rush them. It just tilted its head and pointed at the chair. Nick backed away. No way. but Heather just stepped forward, as though in a trance. She sat in the chair, and the straps buckled themselves tight around her wrists and ankles. She didn't even scream when the blade came down from the ceiling and opened her from neck to navel. Chapter 8. The crawl space in it grabbed Lily's hand and pulled her into the nearest hallway. They found a small door near the floor, a crawl space, and slipped inside. It was pitch black, but the creature didn't follow. They stayed there for what felt like hours, trembling, listening to the sound of chains moving back and forth. Back and forth. Then silence. Nick whispered, "We wait a few more minutes, then run for the stairs." But when Lily turned to look at him, Nick was gone. In his place was just a length of chain, still warm to the touch. Chapter 9. Ellie was alone now. She crawled through the tiny space, her knees scraping raw, until she found another door. When she pushed it open, she found herself in a room she hadn't seen before. The walls were covered in carvings, tally marks, hundreds, maybe thousands of them, and in the center of the room, a pile of shoes, children's shoes, dozens of them, all stained with dark, dried blood. Lily backed away and bumped into something. She turned. It was the creature. It was crouched low now, its black eyes gleaming, its mouth hanging open like a broken hinge. It whispered, its voice like rust and gravel. "Stay." Chapter 10. Next morning, the janitor unlocked the basement door to find everything in its place. No blood, no bodies, no sign anyone had been there, except on the chair in the corner, a single red ribbon one Lily had worn in her hair, and deep in the walls of the crawl space, if you pressed your ear close, you could just barely hear it. The sound of chains rattling, and a soft, quiet cry for help. Finalithy never found the others. The school said they must have run away, typical teenagers. But at night, in the empty halls, you can hear them sometimes. Their footsteps, their whispers, and the creature's chains, dragging across the floor. The janitor still warns kids who stay late, don't go near the basement. Don't even look at it. But sometimes, just sometimes, someone does, and the door closes behind them, and the chains start moving again. Outro. If this story chilled you, leave a like and let us know in the comments. Would you dare to go into the basement? And remember, some doors should never be opened, and some shadows never leave.